and to step down in 2 centuries. Andrew Gorder joins us now, a history professor at Harvard University, focusing on Japan. Professor, thank you for being with us. Clear something up for me just from the get-go. This is called the Reiwa era, which is the name which was chosen by the government, by Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. The government party line is it translates to beautiful harmony. There are those who say, if you do it quite literally, it's commanded peace, which sounds a little more Orwellian.
Yes, well, the character for day can be read both as command. That's actually how I first thought about it, thought of it when I heard it or saw it on TV on April 1st. But the poem, which is from a classical Japanese collection of poetry from which this particular use is taken, does have this meaning of a springtime, warm, pleasant month. So the auspicious interpretation makes sense given where the word was taken from, but in most ordinary people's minds, they don't know that poem, so it has the other association too.
Yeah, it could be an ominous message if you were a little bit suspicious or cynical about these things. Nonetheless, what we have been seeing over the last 2 days is essentially a major milestone here, allowing Akihito to step down and his crown prince, his son, to take his place. A law was passed to allow this to happen. It was one and done.
Yes.
But if Japan's royal family is to survive, if the Imperial family is to survive, they will need to start considering a lot more significant changes. And those changes have to come through Parliament, right?
Yes, any change in succession is a matter of law, not a constitutional amendment, but a matter of law through the Diet, the Parliament, and that would have to be the case. There was a significant discussion about a decade ago of revising the succession law to let women ascend the throne, which would have greatly widened the pool of future heirs, but that didn't go forward when the new emperor's brother had a son.
Well, the former emperor Akihito, much beloved because of this common touch, because he reached out to the people, he was there to comfort, he was there to listen in times of need, much more so than any other emperor in the history of the country. How much did that put him at odds, though, with Japan's conservatives, like Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, who looked at the role of the emperor as sort of the embodiment of divinity?
Well, I'm not sure that it was the sort of stability versus change issue that put him at odds, but among conservative Japanese, and they're not all the same, those who really considered the religious role of the emperor the primary role don't particularly appreciate the public duties he's performed, going around, as you say, in times of distress and disaster to comfort people, to kneel down on the floor and with his wife, the empress, and look them in the eye and say how sorry, to make trips abroad and express remorse about the past, to speak to the nation on television during the March 11th, 2011 disasters. Those roles are considered public duties, and what many conservatives say is, no, he's a religious figure. He can just do the rituals in the privacy of the palace, doesn't have to be out and about, and so, frankly, being aged or less energetic isn't a big issue because that doesn't require him to travel, doesn't require him to do much. So there's that sort of pushback against the monarch. I do think the Abe administration wants to see the monarch continue to be out in public as a kind of unifying force, because that does bring some stability.
There's a few sort of subtle differences when we look at the imperial family in Japan, and the emperor in particular. The emperor is a symbol of the state as opposed to the head of state, like other monarchies in Europe, right? Which is it's a subtle but significant difference. He's also the head of the Shinto religion too, right? So he's a bit like the Pope.
Yes.
So
that's the ritual role that some people would say he has to play. There's nothing in the Constitution that says, as the symbol of the state and the unity of the people, you must go around and cut ribbons and console people. That's a role that he has defined for himself. His father, that is Emperor Hirohito, now 2 emperors ago, began to define it, but the emperor just stepping down really put his heart and soul into that.
It seems that Akihito came from this point of view that the emperor, or the role of emperor, was more of an institution as opposed to the embodiment of the person himself, I guess. Whereas his father seemed to think that wherever the emperor was physically, that was the emperor, and that was the embodiment of the emperor. And that's the big difference here, and that's how Akihito and presumably his son, who is now emperor, will continue to sort of move this role forward.
Yes, I do think his son will continue in the mode of his father. He hasn't said exactly those words. He's said publicly that he's watching and learning from his father and that he admires and respects his father. I think he'd probably want to have a little room to improvise a bit, but I think the basic style of the monarchy and the monarch that his fathers put in place, I expect he'll continue.
So if we look at the situation for the role of the emperor and essentially keeping the royal family alive, because it's a direct descendancy, which if you believe what some say, it goes back thousands of years, others say it's hundreds of years, but it is a direct line, if you like, and if they are to continue that direct line in the current form with only men allowed to take the throne, then this is a lineage which is not going to last for too much longer.
That's right. Until the son of Akishinomiya, the new emperor's brother, Hisaisto, who's now a young boy, until he was born, there were no heirs in that next generation at all who were male. Now there's one. So there are two people in the line of succession. And, barring disasters, that means the nation's okay for 60, 70 years, I suppose. But still, nobody likes to be up against the wall in a situation like this, so there's certainly pressure to rethink the succession.
Professor Andrew Gordon. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Thank you, sir. We appreciate you being with us. We appreciate your thoughts. It is it's a fascinating couple of days there in Tokyo as we watch it play out. Thank you for being with us, sir. And these are the live images outside the Imperial Palace. You can see the crowds have gathered there. It is 10:51 in the morning in Tokyo. It is a beautiful day by all accounts.